Hi, I'm Dr. Marc, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes BTS's performance of Go Go from the 2019 KBS Song Festival so awesome. Here we go. Okay, there's a lot going on here just in these first few moments here. So cool. So what are we seeing? Well, obviously we're seeing them sitting down. We're seeing them playing with video game controllers here. We see the video game things going on in the background, in the screens that we're seeing behind the audience. So many awesome things going on here. One of the things that I love about BTS is that they don't just settle for doing things that are flashy or look really cool or fit kind of the pop pattern, right? Where you have flashy lights and lasers and movers and stuff. Their costumes, those little things that they do like video game controllers, their set, the lights, everything creates an entire experience that is about what the song is trying to communicate. It's all about creating that moment, right? You couldn't just do any song with this setup. It's kind of, this song belongs with this setup. It's really kind of specific and detailed that way. That makes a huge difference in the level we engage with what they're doing, the performance quality, how much we believe it, how authentic it seems, and how meaningful it is. It locates us. Everything serves to communicate the same thing. There's a lot of singers and performers we watch, and it's basically, we could see the costume sets and everything they're doing go with just about any song. It could go with anything and work, and it would make sense. There's a certain utilitarianism in that, but in terms of artistic expression, it means that it's just too general. It's not specific enough to really communicate the entire message and to really engage all our senses in what's being said. So that's one of the things I love about BTS is they are genius at doing that. Again, whoever their costume designers, set designers, lighting designers are brilliant. From what I hear, they're super involved in the decision making, what's going on. And so I love that they are so engaged in not just making it look cool and look right, but really communicating and telling a story. And it's just brilliant. It's really, really awesome. And fun to watch, right? So that's one thing. So we obviously know things that what we're watching is about video games and what's going on there. Their costumes match kind of this home. They're doing this thing there. There's relaxed, but it's specific to their character and what they're expressing, what's going on. So there's a lot of uniqueness at the same time. So really cool visually with what we're seeing here. What we're hearing voice-wise is we're hearing some contrast right at the start, right? We hear some singing, it's nice, it's cool, and then we get this rap coming in that's got some of the edge to it. So we're getting engaged from the very beginning. How are we getting engaged? With contrast hitting us at the very start. Specific details visually that match the message that's wanting to communicate. It locates us. We see video games, people sitting down, big group of people, and so it's clear. We can follow it the entire time. And it also leaves us room to have our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own ways of connecting with what's being said and sung and shown with body language and set. So cool. So what's interesting, what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to their mouth shape. Then I want you to go sing in the mirror and see what your mouth shape is. Then if they're different, which I think you'll probably find they usually are going to be different, try matching your mouth shape to theirs and see what it does to your sound. See what it does when you record and listen back, but primarily see what it does with the ease here. You're going to notice that there's this openness, this kind of wideness in this mouth, this open sensation that you're seeing there. Upper teeth often come out, but what we see most of the time when it's not working well is we see the corners of the mouth kind of dip down a little bit and these lips pull down a little bit. It almost turns into a bit of a frown with open mouth look. That means we're collapsing it back, we're covering, there's just not a lot of things going on. You'll realize that's not what they're doing here. They're keeping these corners lifted a little bit, it's open, and there's this place in the back almost all the time. Now, you'll notice here too, when they're going to the high notes just a minute ago there, that they are changing the placement as they're going up to that high note. They're keeping it forward in speech-like, then as they go to the high note, they pull it back, and then they pull it right forward. We talk a lot about wanting to keep that placement consistent. That's true. We want to have control over that. We want it to be consistent. In this moment, this is a better choice, and it works. The reason it works is because they're consistent with it. It happens every time in this moment of the song. It also works because we know when we've heard them sing in other times that they can keep it consistent, keep it forward. So that also gives us evidence that it's not a mistake, it's a choice. Number 3 is it levels out, even though there's this big jump in melody, it keeps it a little more stable and keeps the overall feeling of it a little less drastic and dramatic. It smooths it out a little bit. If they were to keep it forward, it would pop right out and really sound intense, make us feel intense emotion. But that's not the point here. The point here is to give it variety, but keep it smooth. It's kind of the vibe they're giving here. So by pulling the placement back, making it a little less intense, the higher pitches are already going to make it intense on its own. So those balance each other out and bring it to the kind of the same energy level as the lower pitches, which makes it feel smooth. Pretty cool. The key is to know how to make the different colors that you're wanting to make and know why they work and how to use them at a specific time and how to get the sound that you want and have control over that, right? And so that's what's happening here. What can you do today to kind of play with that? Well, you can imagine that just by sending the sound in a specific direction, if you call this 5, 4, again, 5 is kind of back to the base of our skull. 4 is to the crown of our head. 3 is straight up. 2 is towards our eyeball. 1 is straight out of our mouth. If we imagine that we're sending our sound in those directions, our body will change a bunch of things to make that happen. Now you can say, well, what am I doing exactly? Again, I'm going to ask you just to back off for a second, try it, see what changes, and observe that. There's a lot of different things that asking your body to do that will change and will adjust. And there are purposes to each one, and there's times when we can use each of those placements and use them effectively. We can even use more than one at a time, which is often what we do in opera. If we're doing opera, a lot of times it's a 4 or 5 with a 2 or even a 1 sometimes, this kind of stretch in both directions. What we're dealing with here is, in general, when they're singing about at a 2. Then the section when we're at the higher and they change the placement, they brought it back to a 3 or 4. And then when they're rapping, they're keeping it at a 1. And it's straightforward, which kind of gives us the edge in the rapping, softens it up, gives it a little more lyric quality, makes it a little easier to stay on it and transition between registers. That 3 and 4 softened it up a little bit. With that change to 3 and 4, they also made it a little more breathy, a little more aspirate, put more air through it without increasing the vocal fold pressure. Consequently, we get a slightly breathy sound and it softens it up. That's what's going on. Try it today. See how it goes. Okay, I'm going to stop here in this moment. Who does your eye go to in this picture? When you have the whole group together, who draws your attention? To me, either you're here with RM in the front. If my eyes aren't tricking me here, this picture all of a sudden got small. And then you see, so it's black, black, black and white. So our attention goes a little bit there. And then we have green, black, white, gray, red. Where's our eye go? To the contrasting colors. First it goes to the center because that's the center. It's green, it's brighter, it's hotter, there's some white. Then it goes to red because that's another color that stands out from the rest. It's something that's different. So if you're wanting to stand out, this seems like the most obvious thing in the world to say, but it's neglected so often when people are planning on stage. Then you want to wear something different that draws the eye's attention to pop out here. Since the majority of people in black, whites, and grays, it's color. If everyone was in colors, then someone in black, white, or gray would actually pop out. So just be the one that provides contrast. That's the same thing with movement. That's the same thing with levels. At the very beginning of this video, everyone was sitting. Then the person starting stands, sings, does movement that no one else is doing, putting on glasses, and there we are. We're with that person. We know they're supposed to be the one we're looking at because they're different from everyone else and they're moving and they're at a different level. And there we are. They're providing the contrast, the meaning. And they quickly rotate that into people joining the person standing. And the other thing that I love about BTS is that they're geniuses about drawing attention to the person you're supposed to be watching in that moment without you realizing it's even happening. But it's so specific, so deliberate, and all the time. Love it. So, quick thing that I want to point out here. Most people, when they're hearing that rap and then that high note, da, da, what they're hearing is punch, 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 right? But it's not. If you'll listen closely, it's smooth and consistent and constantly going the whole time. Gaga! Then it's consistent in between those two as well. The airflow moves consistent. The placement stays consistent. And they're just riding this consistent, smooth air all the time. If you were to take out the consonants, it would just sound like a solid block of air without any punchiness in it at all. What makes the punchiness is that they're giving a little bit more time to the consonants. They're singing through the consonants a little bit more, being more deliberate, being stronger with them. That creates the punch. What you can do today to practice this, go ahead and just sing through an entire phrase until you, on a single vowel, yeah, and see what happens, right? Keep it nice and smooth so you're not punching anything. Once you can do that, go through and then add in consonants, trying to remember that feeling of keeping that sound consistent and flowing through the whole thing. If you'll do that, you'll find that you can still get punch, contrast, meaning, intensity, edge, but keep that voice more consistent, keep it easier, and not have to be pushing so hard. Watch their mouth position. Imitate it. See what it does. You're going to find that they're not overextending. They're not opening super wide here in front. They are keeping it open the back. They're keeping that ass space with the upper tooth smile. It's like across the board. And they're keeping that airflow consistent. Even in moments where we're seeing tension and physical activity, we aren't hearing it like that. Because I don't think that's what's going on. When we see that tension, I think it's body and physical stuff, but it's not tied to their voice, and their voice is staying really easy and consistent. That can be confusing to someone watching it because they see this and they think that that's what's making the sound when it's not. That's expressing, but they're keeping it really easy and consistent here. I've had a lot of students for some reason this week talk about wanting it to feel that emotional connection that doesn't feel as emotionally connected when we get this easier. That it feels super easy, like they could do it all day long, but it doesn't feel as emotionally connected. My next question is, well, what does emotionally connected feel like? And a lot of times they're looking for that sensation here, that feeling of pressure underneath, because it is emotional. It feels kind of satisfying on some level. It might be fatiguing, but it feels like we're being emotional. The key is to learn to not make the emotion here, to make the emotion in everywhere else in your body, to shape the sound, to get the emotional quality to the sound that we're looking for. But here in the throat, it's to keep it open, easy, no pressure, no force, no tension. Just get out of the way of that sound and let it come on out. That's what we're looking for. And I think that's what we see almost all the time here across the board with BTS. Should stop. Why do I think is happening here with BTS? Even if I'm seeing things that as we're watching, we might be red flags. We think, is that tension? Is that something going wrong? Is they're pushing there? The reason I don't is because when we listen to their voice, we're not hearing fatigue after they're singing that moment. We're not hearing it get raspy, tight, tense. Two is they are performing all the time. It's like nonstop. They're on like talk shows and all these shows and concerts and tours. And I mean, it's unbelievable. And when you're watching them, it just looks like they can do this all day, every day and not bat an eye. It just looks and sounds super sustainable with what they're doing. Number two thing is if I close my eyes and just listen to the sound, I'm not hearing the telltale sounds of pressure, tension, compression, force, and a lot of these other things that we expect. And so consequently, that's why I would say what I'm saying. And that is that even when we do see some signs of tension and stress here, I think it's a matter of communication and body language, not a matter of vocal production. Okay, so the other cool thing here that you'll notice is that they were moving the whole time, and that's always impressive to me of how active they are with still keeping their voice and their singing so consistent and smooth. Never sounds like they're out of breath. And I know that's because of how they train, and that's awesome. Cool thing though is that they still are really smart about pacing themselves. Notice that their most active movement as an entire group wasn't until the very, very end. They use that moment to build the energy, and then send you off on this high, right? That's kind of where they're at. And so they were smart about putting bursts of motion in, but then keeping it slow, and then a big rush at the end. And so we feel like it's high intensity the whole time, when in reality, it's just little touches and bits here. That's really important when we're thinking about pacing ourselves through a song is where does it have to be high energy? Or if we're talking vocally, at a louder dynamic? Or where do I have to put some grit or vocal color in there that might cost me a little vocal capital? If I have to, then I'm going to plan it there, but I'm not going to make the entire song that way. I'm going to make the entire song, or at least the majority of the song, sustainable, easy, comfortable. And then if I have to add some stuff that's really going to push me physically or push me vocally, I'm going to save those for the key moments that are called for in the music and in the text and what I'm trying to express. They're masters at doing that, and it's just awesome. I love watching them because it's so deliberate. They're so expressive in a way that is unique, ties them all together, but in a meaningful way. They aren't just getting up and singing songs and trying to get people feeling emotional. They're communicating stuff that they at least seem to be connected to. They're showing that this is actually stuff that they care about and that they're wanting to sing about and do something with, which is really important. When we're making art, we should care about our art. If we don't, then we need to rethink and either find a reason to care about it again or to find something else that we do care about. And here, I love watching them because they are obviously having so much fun, doing great work, and it's just awesome. If you want a voice lesson, a performance coaching, or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier or perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com. Or if you just want to send me a short video link, audio link, or message that you want me to respond to and give you feedback on, you can find me on wizio.com. I look forward to working with you online. Till next time, see ya.